Hi, my name's Ian, and it's been my real privilege to have spent the last 5 years working as a rural missioner among the rural chapels. I asked 3 questions of these chapels as I was finishing my role. What happens in and with your chapel? What are your plans for the future? And how can we all best pray for you moving forward? I'm sorry, but it's been impossible to include all that I recorded. Galway, Camera and Pandy, there wasn't anyone available to contribute to the video, so we'll have to make do with some of the brief scenes from these marvellous locations. Here is a video of some of your replies. May God bless and lead us all into the future that He has for us as we all serve Him together. Many thanks.
Everything as we reopen is going to have a focus on sharing the gospel, perhaps obviously and perhaps subtly. But as we go through, we're going to share the gospel in everything that we do. We're going to start with a pop-up play activity over the half term and more in the summer. And then come the autumn, we've plans to start a messy church and a club for children that's going to be called Monday Messiness. The messy church is going to be called First Monday. And then as we go into the autumn, we're going to open our work for teenagers with some work that Hazel's going to do related to Youth for Christ. We're not going to be forgetting our older people. And what we want to do with those activities is to try and engage some other church and community partners to reopen our lunch club or something similar, and as a Saturday morning coffee activity, hopefully involving different people. So we've got great ambitions for the next year or so. We've seen quite a lot of growth in faith really through our WhatsApp and Zoom groups. So we really want to pray that that growth in faith will continue as we go back into the chapel, and people will be inspired and equipped for maybe not the things they did before, but for whatever God's got in His heart for us for this next season.
In addition to weekly worship, over recent years we've been involved with the community and have supported the Hereford Food Bank, run a drummers group, commenced a Footstep Friends walking group, started a creative crafts group. These events and activities have been supported well by members, their families and friends and the community. Some of these groups have been at the chapel, whereas other events and activities have been run in the community. We've also generously supported many charities. We all hope and pray for the continued Christian witness at the chapel here in Longtown. And myself, Ruth, Jane and Barbara are going to have a few words to you now.
The chapel was built in 1843 and has been open for worship, Christian worship, for 177 years. When it initially opened, the chapel was in Wales, but we are now in England, although we are members of the South Wales Baptist Association. In addition to the chapel, we are fortunate enough to have an adjoining kitchen with a garden of remembrance and fields, so have plenty of scope for outdoor worship. Plus we have 2 cottages.
A large number of the chapel members have been attending for many years, some since being babes in arms. Some attended Sunday school and some joined over the last 20 years, and more recently over the last 6 years. There have been a couple of new members. The members are aged between 50 to 100.
Normally, we meet each week with approximately 8 to 18 members. More recently, we have been meeting outdoors with a couple of services a month. There have been some resident ministers over the years, including the Reverend Dennis Monger, who retired here to Longtown.
We have what we call informal services, where we all contribute, we all say prayers, do readings, share our thoughts. Some of us have very deep thoughts and the rest of us try to understand them. But the most important thing is that while someone's talking, we can interrupt them and say, look, I don't understand that bit. We haven't got to wait till the end and forget what the question was. We can do it as we go along, and that works really well for us. And we love singing.
That must make for some lively times.
Well, very much so, yes. That's what we pride ourselves on.
We won't be in your face. We won't be pressurising. Come and join us. Yeah, and it's just really nice. It's just, you don't feel like you're going into a formal setting at all. We just come in, sit where we want, have a chat first, and then, as we said before, during chapel, you can say, I don't agree, I don't understand. What about this? Why doesn't Jesus do this? We're allowed to say it all. Sometimes we have quite an argument.
Discussion.
A discussion, thank you, a lively discussion. So I feel that for me, the family services are really important. For me, it's important that we reach out to the children.
Yeah.
And I can do children. I'm not so good at talking or I don't know, sensibly to adults, yes. But I can do children, and we can make fun things for children to learn about Jesus. And for me, that's quite a big part of our chapel, because you don't get that so much in a lot of churches. So 4 times a year, we really reach out to the children, and we do services that have a nice message, a good message for everyone. And quite often we say, read it in the children's books and it's easy to understand. And the message is there and it's clear.
Cottage next door to the chapel here at Garclewyd. What is the one thing that we could pray for you?
That we can reach out more to the community, and we also do quite a lot of interdenominational activities with the other churches in the area, the Anglicans and the Methodists. So more cohesion really between all of us.
Camera Baptist Chapel is one of the oldest chapels on the Ross Abergavenny Road. Well cared for, committed congregation. Now we'll meet in here once a month at the moment. Pre-COVID, they were hoping to continue with a yearly Sankey festival, other festivals. Congregation chapel building would be filled up. At the bottom of the village of Galway is the Baptist Chapel, and there's normally a service here on the first Sunday of the month, and they share congregational services with Llancloudy and Broad Oak Methodists, 3 congregations meeting in 3 different locations. Zoa Baptist Chapel, Pandy. Schoolroom next door. By the banks of the River Hondy, with the baptistry.
Before the pandemic, we held regular activities here in the hall, including coffee pot and oh so simple rainbow arts and community singing. We now have Tuesday tunes on Zoom, and we've got a yarn bombing project which has taken place, and some of those things are here in front of me on the gates as a welcome to the church. So yeah, we've been actively using this time to prepare our buildings for the future with a new electricity supply, new windows, and decorating the kitchen and lots of other bits and bobs around the place. So as we look to the future, we want this place to continue to be a place where the light and love of Jesus shines forth. And our prayer requests. So from September until November, we're going to be taking a sabbatical. So please pray for the leadership team as they lead and serve the church, and for the fellowship as they support them. Also that God will open our minds and hearts to what He is saying to us, that we are to be His church in this place and in this wonderful community.
Lewis Howell Baptist Church in the heart of the community.
The characteristics of our congregation, that's an interesting question. Certainly I think we're all very friendly and very welcoming if anybody comes to visit us. We are very happy to organise and have parties as in rural churches getting together, but also other people. We've got together a few times with the local Anglican churches, and also I would say we are pretty tenacious. Oh yes, apparently a man called Joe Williams used to walk down all the way from Crossash, which is quite a distance, to Norton, in order to keep the chapel open. He would go with his dog, and it's because of him really that Norton didn't close at the time. And he was doing that for a considerable time. It wasn't a case of weeks, but months that he was doing it, if not years. And so actually that's quite a discouraging situation to be in. He was the only one and all depended on him. And so I would encourage us all to be big-minded when it comes to being patient and prayerful and not give up.
We're all still needing God's loving provision and Jesus' saving grace and the inspiration of the Holy Spirit in our daily lives to help us live life to the full. So we meet here every month, if at all possible, and we value your prayers for considering what to do with the building.
I've been serving the church here in Monmouth, and I'm the pastor of Norton as well for 21 years. Monmouth's quite a busy church, and we have a number of ministries, particularly outside of lockdown, to the elderly, youth, children, men and women's Bible studies, as well as our regular worship services on a Sunday. But in particular, one of our church's focuses is on schools work. So I work part-time as a schools worker as well here in Monmouth. So Monmouth has always had a heart for the rural churches, and we were very excited to be able to support the Rural Mission Project and serve the rural churches. We're also eager not to impose ourselves, so while we're really eager to come alongside, it's not for us to say what churches should do. So we have a wonderful partnership with Norton. We work really closely together, but we're also able to offer people who can preach maybe 2 or 3 weeks in a row for a series of sermons and services that could help a church, as well as supporting perhaps setting up IT if that's needed at the moment. Worship help, people who could perhaps help with youth or Bible studies. There are lots of people who could do that, so we're just eager to serve and to support the rural churches, just as we have done with the Rural Mission Project, without imposing our own views on them. So you could get in touch with us just by looking online at our website, monmouthbaptistchurch.co.uk, or get in touch with Ken Prosser from Norton, and he'll give you my phone number. I'll be very happy to talk to anyone, just to support or encourage or help however we could serve. And we also really enjoy the partnership with Norton. We serve together, so it's not a one-way road, and there are ways in which we can encourage one another in prayer and things like that as well. So anything we can do to help, we would love to do that.